This week in fantasy movies, Kit Harington opens up about the abandoned Jon Snow series, and the saga thus far on the Paramount acquisition and why it matters. Plus, we've got the latest on all the cool indie genre films you might have missed, like Part-Time Killer. This week, Standard Definition Productions dropped a kick-ass behind-the-scenes featurette that shows their process for making Part-Time Killer, a trans action comedy about the shady app that lets people order a hitman.
Immediately began laughing because the idea of this hitman app that was disrupting the establishment of hitmen, the normal corporate, the taxi drivers of hitman.
It's like DoorDash for murder. Welcome, friends, to This Week in Fantasy Movies. Let's do some trailers. First up, it's another trailer for The Rings of Power.
War has come to Middle-earth.
And look, say what you will about the show's adherence to Tolkien's lore.
You are wise to fear these rings.
You can't deny that these visuals are gorgeous, and it'll be so cool to see orcs and zombies doing battle with elves and men. Coming next week.
Do you want to hear a secret?
Then we have Omniloop,
Sure. I've done this before.
a Groundhog Day sci-fi thriller with a twist.
She has a black hole growing inside of her body.
How much longer does she have?
I'd say maybe another week.
Right off the bat, I love this premise, and I'm sure the South by Southwest audience loved it too. I can't wait for it to come out September 20th.
Let's solve time travel.
Hot off the heels of Alien Romulus, we have The Asylum crossing the Rubicon with Alien Rubicon.
Let's go say hello.
A schlocky alien invasion flick about a mysterious sphere that hovers over a bunch of cities.
10 more spears. A fleet.
And then chaos in the streets. Coming Friday. Then we have quick teasers for the new Laika film, Wildwood.
When the first settlers came here, they called these woods the impassable wilderness.
We just had a season drop a few weeks ago, but the new Dragon Prince season comes this December.
It's not enough for me to watch the world. I want to make a difference.
Another redo of the Attack on Titan ending, this time in movie form.
Sayonara.
We also got a trailer for Kizu Monogatari Kiyomi Vamp. A jazzy anime vampire flick in the Monogatari series, and a trailer for Goodbye Dragon Life, a charming slice-of-life anime about a dragon who dies, gets reincarnated as a human, and lives out his life with other humans. Finally, we have a trailer for Kongava, a Tamil epic spanning multiple centuries featuring Romans, pirates, and Roman pirates. This film is so laden with primal elemental rage. You don't need subtitles to feel this in your bones. Coming October 10th. In quick news, earlier this year, this one swept the Indian box office by storm. The post-apocalyptic bounty hunting adventure film Kalki 2989 AD lands on Amazon Prime and Netflix this week. But there's a catch. Each platform will have different languages. Amazon Prime will get the original Telugu and dubs in Tamil, Kannada, and Malayalam, while Netflix will get the Hindi dub. Of course, both sites will have subtitles in English. The cult sci-fi show Dark Matter has been renewed for a second season on Apple TV+, and Amazon canceled the medieval rom-com My Lady Jane after one season. Meanwhile, the CW has mysteriously pulled The Librarians, the next chapter, from its lineup with no word on why. Has it been canceled before it even aired? Are they just having production delays? We don't know, and they won't tell us. And prepare your box office butts, because Frozen 3 is coming out Thanksgiving. 2027. Disney must really want to stake that territory. Yeah, okay, let's do the numbers. Alien Romulus burst out of the chest this week at number 1, earning $18 million on Friday. Coraline had a good showing for its 15th anniversary this weekend. Borderlands dropped all the way down to 10th place, barely cracking $500,000 on Friday. And Harold and the Purple Crayon fell off the charts entirely. In streaming movies, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes holds on to its top spot, while Furiosa steadily climbs the charts. Meanwhile, House of the Dragon finally dropped out of the number 1 spot on the series charts. Those About to Die proved its sleeper hit status this week, as it climbs to number 4. And Fallout shows its staying power on its way back up to number 8. And finally, in an announcement that came just after we filmed the last episode, Dungeons & Dragons Honor Among Thieves won a Hugo Award. It beat out Barbie, Nimona, Poor Things, and The Wandering Earth 2. The Last of Us also picked up a Hugo for its episode Long, Long Time. You know, the one with Nick Offerman that shattered everyone's hearts into a million pieces. One more streaming note before we fully move on. Legendary has relocated production of Monarch Legacy of Monsters from British Columbia to Queensland. The shift for this Apple TV Plus show from Canada to Australia is entirely due to tax breaks. That said, Queensland had help thanks to a bespoke location attraction agency, Screen Queensland, which says the show will generate $76 million for the local economy. This is another case to the point that tax credits are the driving factor to bring film production to an area. And I wish I could say the tax breaks are only a good thing, but it's really just a never-ending race to the bottom between different local and regional governments. And it's not even guaranteed to bring productions to the area. By the way, Lindsay Ellis had a great video essay about this topic. Here in northern Minnesota, we have a 25% statewide tax credit, a 25% rebate from St. Louis County, and separate 20 and 25% rebates from the IRRB and the city of Duluth. These all stack for a theoretical 75% back on local expenses. But somehow that's not enough for Hollywood. All we get are some indie horror flicks and the occasional Hallmark movie. We're happy to have even that much, but our crew is itching for more. Anyway, congratulations to Queensland on landing such a big production. Here's hoping you get more. There's a new bidder for Paramount. Edgar Bronfman Jr. is reportedly prepping a bid against Skydance Media, who last month signed a deal to buy Paramount. So here's the gist of it. Paramount has been struggling hard. They've had to shed staff and close divisions, and they're looking for someone, anyone, to pull them out of their financial woes. They see how Disney gobbled up Fox. They're not thrilled. They see David Zaslav running Warner Brothers into the ground. No go. And the FTC is breathing down those companies' necks for anti-competitive behavior. So, merging with another major studio like Sony was yanked off the table very early on. Well, getting bought out by a tech giant is the other typical play right now, but the tech giants have their eyes on, like, Disney and Sony, not Paramount. Fortunately for Paramount, Skydance, a solid partner on recent projects like Star Trek, thought, hey, what if we buy Paramount? And Sherry Redstone, who owns a controlling stake in Paramount, says, that sounds great actually. Skydance gets the company on the cheap, and they don't have to deal with the stock market. See, Skydance is owned by David Ellison, son of Larry Ellison, the guy who founded Oracle. David is really into movies. Skydance's filmography is more than enough evidence. So if there's ever going to be a good fit for Paramount, it's other filmmakers. And Skydance definitely has the money for this deal. So they ink a deal in July that says, yeah, let's do this. But there's regulations to say that they have to wait 45 days. In that time, someone else can come in with a bigger bid. But see, shareholders aren't too happy about the Skydance deal because it plays kind of a shell game where Skydance buys all the voting shares, then Paramount buys out Skydance, and it all gets absorbed back into Paramount, but it leaves the other shareholders high and dry. Enter Edgar Bronfman Jr., another billionaire son and media executive. There's whispers that he may have a deal that's more advantageous to the shareholders, but it's hard to say for sure what he'll propose, or if he'll even have a proposal in time. The deadline is Wednesday, and the Skydance deal has a clause that says if Paramount backs out, they have to pay Skydance $30 million. Ultimately, Skydance or Bronfman would be a good thing for regular people like you and me, because both of them have proven that they genuinely love movies and know this business. So good news, Star Trek is probably safe. Stepping away from corporate shenanigans, Camila Mendes from the show Riverdale has been cast as Teela for Amazon's live-action Masters of the Universe remake. I don't actually have much to add to this. I just wanted to bring it up because my friend Emily Ashby did an awesome short film where she played Teela, and it's disappointing they didn't pick her. Different creative decisions, I guess. Finally, in part of his interview with British GQ, Kit Harington talks about how exhausted he was in the final season of Game of Thrones. He also shares some details on what happened with the abandoned Jon Snow sequel series. Harington thought, hey, there could be an interesting story about the soldier after the war. The creative team spent a couple years developing it, but nothing got them excited. And while that premise sounds like a good source of drama, I can totally see why it would struggle to land a foundation. It's not easy to build a story out of war grief, let alone a good story. And the only one I can think of is Godzilla -1. Kit Harington also wants you to stop sexualizing him and stop shouting, "You know nothing, Jon Snow," at him in the streets. Coming up this week, it's The Crow, a demonic action fantasy revenge plot coming to theaters on Thursday. The body-snatching sci-fi movie The Becomers also comes out this Friday to some coastal theaters. If you were holding out to binge the Time Bandits remake, your wait is over. The finale airs Tuesday on Apple TV+. Netflix drops the Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon movie on Thursday. And if you're in an anime mood, maybe check out Delico's Nursery about vampires trying to figure out who's murdering their family members. Thanks for joining us this week in Fantasy Movies. I'm curious, have you ever had your heart pummeled by Indian cinema? Like a lot of people, I got my introduction through RRR, but I had already seen plenty of East Asian cinema, so it wasn't too big of a culture shock. Tell us your story in the comments. We'll have more in Fantasy Movies next week.